I don't even know where to start. With Sacramento and the climbing gym and home, it all just represents such another side of my life. I like struggle to convey my background to people. Even like the phone call I just had that was like fact-checking some articles. Is it fair to say that you spend your life dangling from the side of cliffs? And I'm like, well, not really. Like, that might be the focus of my life, and that might be like what I spend my life aspiring to and like working towards. But like the majority of the time in my life has been spent in the suburbs of Sacramento.
He can give you a better tour than I can. This is his room.
So when you're home, you just sleep in your sleeping bag right there?
Yeah, this is my bed right here. My pillow, my sleeping bag.
Here they all are. The 5 big peaks that I did with Alex. Every year around my birthday, which is in September, I corral him to go climb something extraordinary with me. And they're not extraordinary for him. He doesn't even put on his climbing shoes. But for me, boy, they're extraordinary.
And it's cool to see Mom doing things that she wouldn't have believed was possible. My father randomly died of a heart attack at 55. And I mean, he was leading, by any measure, a very low-risk lifestyle. And then one day he was just like running between airport terminals and fell over dead. But the thing is, you know, he was kind of overweight. He like wasn't really exercising that much, and like his diet was pretty bad. And so, I mean, even though he's not like an extreme athlete or doing anything super risky, it's like, I mean, he does have a lot of risk going on in his life. Yeah, actually, so after Dean died, I wrote a response in Time magazine where I talked a little bit about society's view of risk, and I actually mentioned healthcare in it a bit, because, you know, half the people that are condemning risk-taking behavior are themselves taking crazy risks in terms of lifestyle and health. It annoys me that someone leading that kind of lifestyle can then point fingers at people who are going adventuring out in nature and be like, those guys are irresponsible. I mean, I've obviously reflected on death a fair amount in my life. Several family members have died, many members of the climbing community have died. You hear a ton about like, oh, I've accepted the risk, or like, oh, I'm willing to die. I mean, you hear that like with Dean's accident this year, like, oh, well, he loved base jumping, it's like, and he'd accepted that level of risk. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, if he'd known that he was gonna die jumping, like, he probably would have given up jumping. If someone told me for sure that if I keep soloing, I would die doing it, I would probably just become a sport climber. I do feel like one of the big themes in my book was like the whole crux of like having a relationship versus having like the hunger to perform harder. And I mean, I had this on and off relationship with Stacy, which I talk about quite a bit in the book, for, I mean, I guess 5 years. And the thing was, whenever I was with her, it was like nice and it was like happy and it made me feel very like stable and content. But I felt like that was sort of contrary to like high performance, like striving, you know, searching for more. And I mean, and that always really frustrated her, that I'd be like, oh, I feel like I should be single so I can like go send super hard. And she'd be like, why don't you just train in the gym, climb hard, perform well while we're in a relationship, you know? And I was like, it's just not like that. At the end of our relationship, there was like, it was definitely either like, oh, we break up and I just go like travel and rage for a year, or I like buy a house in Salt Lake where she's getting a permanent job and then just like have a home base with her and like have something kind of stable. And I was actually kind of 50-50. I probably could have gone either way. But then, you know, she obviously wasn't very happy with 50-50. She was like, so she just like made the call, and so here I am by myself in the gym. I'm still working on it, you know? But yeah, like I was saying though, I just finished like a month-long training block. And so like, I'm feeling more fit right now than normal for this kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm about to start another like month-long training block. Yeah. Which is cool, because I haven't gotten like better at climbing in a very long time.
This little piece of wood is all it takes to get really strong.
My checked bag for all my traveling now has like a pull-up bar, a hang board, like all this apparatus. But that's actually the thing, is I've always had really weak fingers relative to like other high-end climbers. And so this is like a nice way for me to like isolate my weaknesses and work on them. I don't know, I'm sure all this stuff will like sort itself out as I just turned 30 this year, which was like kind of depressing, but I'm sure my 30s will be a little more stable, you know?
Are you just saying that, or is it really depressing?
Well, it was a little depressing. I mean, honestly, my book coming out was like sort of depressing in a way for me, because I was like, oh, I have this book coming out about how rad I used to be. I have no prospects, like no immediate climbing plans. And I was just like, you know, like, what am I doing? I've been plateaued like for kind of a long time, even though like from the outside it's hard to tell, but like my actual physical climbing performance has been like really similar for years and years, which is partially why I'm motivated enough to start like actually training for real again now.
As soon as you step off the ground, you're basically looking at a 3,000-foot drop. Heaven is only 18 moves long, so I make 18 hand movements up the route, which is really short in climbing terms. And because it's so short, it basically packs quite a bit of difficulty into 30 feet of climbing. Every move by itself is pretty strenuous.
Halfway up a solo, I'm normally pretty empty. I'm not really thinking about anything. I'm just sort of physically executing a routine. It'd be sort of like asking a gymnast what they're thinking about while they're doing the routine. Ideally, they're just executing it perfectly, and that's it. The satisfaction from finishing a route is sort of the same satisfaction that anybody gets out of putting a lot of hard work into something that means a lot to them and then finishing a goal.
The route is called Heaven because it's the most amazing point in Yosemite.
Big sweeping views, just that epic scale. I hope people get a sense of the beauty of the places that I get to go climbing. This is my story, and this is how I want to share it with people.